Welcome to the third video in our series of 3 on creating a born-again cardigan. So in the first video, you remember we calculated our gauge and determined the exact size of the knitting pieces we needed to knit in order to replace the front and back panels of a denim jacket with hand knitting. In the second video, we talked a little bit about knitting the pieces themselves, blocking them and getting them ready to attach to the denim. And now in this video, I'm going to show you how to attach the knitting to the denim. So this is a little, a very sweet little child's denim jacket, which we'll start off with just to kind of give you an idea. We'll start with the back. So you remember this stuff, we used it in high school to hem, to do hems and skirts and pants and things. I don't think I've used it since then. But it's this flexi lace tape. You can buy it in a million colors all over the place. And what we're going to do is we're going to attach this lace to the denim, and then we're going to attach the knitting to the lace by hand. So it's quite simple. We'll start with the back panel here. This is, as I said, just a little child's denim jacket. This also kind of makes the point that you can make a born-again cardigan in any size, including for children. So what we're going to do is we're going to start and we're going to attach this flexi lace to the denim using a sewing machine. We'll get to that in a second. So you start at the bottom of the panel, of the jacket I should say. Just fold the bottom of the lace up 1/4 inch or so to give yourself a little bit of a hem. And what we're going to do is we're going to stitch, we're going to line the lace up right just to the side of the double stitching edge on the inside of the panel. We're going to stitch in the middle of the lace all the way up to about 1/2, 3/4 of an inch to the, before we get to the, right up here before we get to the yoke. We're going to stop stitching here and clip off the lace a little bit above. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stitch, we're going to line up our lace just underneath where the fold is for the yoke, leaving a little bit on the edge. Again, starting about 1/2, 3/4 of an inch along, we're going to stitch in the middle of the lace till we get to about 1/2 an inch before the next double stitch row. And we'll cut our flexi lace off again a little farther along. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put another band of lace down again on the inside of the double stitching band here. We're going to start stitching about 3/4 of the way along and stitch all the way down to the bottom again, where we will cut our lace. I moved that down far enough? Not quite. Where we'll cut our lace about here. We'll fold it under and stitch it right to the very bottom. So let me show that to you now on a bigger jacket on the sewing machine. See if I can get my camera to move. There we go. Start here at the bottom. Fold my little lace over, stitch right in the middle. about 1/2 inch, 3/4 from the end, right up before the yoke. Just back stitch a bit, and then I'll get some scissors, which I should have had ready. I will cut my flexi tape. And now what I'll do is I'll go across where the yoke, underneath the yoke. So, switch my jacket here. I'm going to get my tape from this side out of the way. Put my new piece of tape down here. Leave it over the edge a little bit, and again, right up against the double seam, starting at about 3/4 of an inch or so along. Oh, and I've lost my thread, of course, because I'm filming. Oh, good heavens. Crying out loud. There we go. Okay. Start my stitching again about, as I said, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch from the edge, from the corner. And go across the top. Again, the lace is lining up just underneath the double yoke seam there. Denim is a little tricky, but I'll stop about 3/4 of the way, back stitch a little bit, and cut my lace a little bit extra long. And then I turn it around. Oops. Did I get that cut? I think so. And I come down the final side. Again, get the top lace out of the way. Have a little bit of extra coming out the top. Again, start stitching at 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch of the way along. There we go. Oh, that thread wants to come out. Let's try that again. Help if my eyesight was better. All right, there we go. And now down the side, again, just right up against where that double seam is. Stitching in the middle of the flexi of the tape. we get to the bottom, and cut it off. And fold it up to make a little bit of a blunt edge there. Plunk, 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 plunk. Right to the bottom edge. And there we go. So, move my machine over. There's what we have. Now, the next step is you want to remove this part of the panel. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to snip. Let's move it up here a bit. Starting at the bottom, we're going to snip just on the inside right next to the seam line. We don't want to cut the stitches. We want to cut to the inside. All the way along. You need some good sharp scissors, especially through the double thicknesses. So just keep an eye on where that seam line is. Let me show you here. When you get to the corner, just stop, again, about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch from the top. And turn your jacket around. And again, we'll cut along the inside to the left of the seam, all the way along the top. Trying not to cut anything else along the way. Again, stopping 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch before the end. And now we will go down the far side. There we go. Make sure you can see there. Again, just sticking to the left of the seam. Go a little bit farther there. There we go. Threads away. Okay, got this from the bottom. There. So what we're left with is something like this. There's our bits of lace hanging over and so on. Now, the next step, we need to turn to the inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to make an angular cut on an angle just into the corner so that we can turn this to the inside. So I'll Pull these back a bit. And I'm just going to cut right to the corner here. Close as I can anyway, something like that. Same on this side. You can see there. Get these out of the way, my little tails. And I'm going to cut just to the corner there. Helps to have nice sharp scissors. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the jacket to the inside. And what I'm going to do is show you from the bottom here. I'm going to turn my flexi lace trim to the inside, just so that the edge of the trim is now at the edge of the fold. A little bit bulky at the bottom here, but we'll deal with that with some hand stitching. So we're going to turn this in. Put some pins in for now. And we're going to turn this all the way around to the inside. Oh, denim. It's not easy, but it's okay. When you get to the little corner here, where we've made our little cut, you're just going to wrap, can you see that there? You're going to wrap the lace trim to the inside. We can just tuck it underneath so that we have something that looks like that. And it's kind of turned in on itself. Pin here. And then same at the top, we'll turn the trim to the inside when we fold over at the top. You can stick all that in there. And a pin. And go across the top, same as before again. The edge of the lace is now right up against the edge of the fold. All the way along. Until we get to the far side again. You can see our diagonal cut there on the inside. Again, we'll just tuck our flexi lace over the diagonal cut. And there's our top yoke side all pinned down. And then same coming down the back side, or the far side, whatever side you're on. Same thing, turn in our flexi lace, tuck it in a little bit, and turn to the inside. Can even tuck that in a bit more, there we go. And again, we'll go down this side. All the way down to the bottom. Show on the camera here. A little bit of a bump where we folded at where the the waistband is, but we'll sort that out by hand in a minute. All right, so what you're left with on the inside is something that looks like this. So you can see on the camera here, there's the bottom, and all the way up to the top, across the top and down to the other side. Now, what you will do eventually, or at this stage, you then can tack the inside of this down by hand. Just a simple hidden stitch along the flexi tape on this side to secure that down by hand. You could do it by machine. Then of course you would get a seam on the outside of your jacket. So I always do it by hand, but if you want to do it by machine, you certainly can. Now the next step, with the cat meowing there, is to attach your knitting to the flexi lace. So, meow meow. Here's my back panel. And as I've said, I've blocked it to match the size, so it should be pretty close. Pretty good, not too bad. Knitting, of course, is forgiving, so that's a good thing. So you can see there, it fits in the shape more or less. So what I like to do now is I like to pin it at all four corners and pin it in a few places along so that I know where I'm stitching. So I'll just stick something here at the bottom. And at the top corner here. Pretty close. Not perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And at this corner. Just enough to kind of keep it here while I'm starting to stitch it down. And at the bottom corner as well. So you can see. See there. And then just to make sure when I stitch it on, I get it in as evenly as possible. I'll probably put a couple of other pins along the way, maybe 2 on each side and 1 more at the top. You can see I've got it sort of just loosely pinned in place. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start stitching my knitting to the denim, to the flexi lace. Now this will all of course have been stitched down, this outside by hand, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start whip stitching to this side of the flexi lace. I'm just going to get a darning needle. There's a little bit of a tail here, but you can use a fresh piece of yarn if you like. The cat's going to, there he is. It's going to get up. It likes to be where I am. So I'm just going to go along here. I'll get back to the edge. Here's the cat, of course, who has arrived to help. Quality control. Back to the task at hand. Here we go. So I'm just going to get to the edge, and then because you did a slip stitch at every first stitch of every row. There's a very handy little hole there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through that slip stitch and then up through the flexi lace tape right up to where the little seam is. And I'm going to start whip stitching my lace in place. So there's my little hole, so you can see here, and I like to do it in every stitch. So there's the next slip stitch right there. You can see, oops, okay, there it is there. You can see it under the needle, and then right into the lace, coming up from underneath. And I just start whip stitching along. There's the next one there. They're easy to spot because they leave a little gap. And up again underneath the lace. You can see it there. And so on. It actually goes quite quickly, especially when you don't have a cat sitting on it. Just stitch up one side across the top and down the other side. Same on the front. You attach the lace the same way to the inside of the folds. So you're going to attach the lace right up to, starting at this edge, right up to the button placket, across the top yoke. Again, you do a little kind of half circle across where the arm is, and back down the side. Again, right up to, this is actually the side seam of the jacket, because this is the portion that you're going to be removing from the side seam to the button placket, the armhole, and up to the yoke, of course. So let me just show you a completed one from the inside. This one's a little bit smaller, easier to see. Here's a pink Born Again cardigan. So you can see there is the lace and the stitching. I can see I haven't, there's when I joined two pieces of yarn. See, right up to the top corner, along the top, and down. That's the back. And then here is the side panel. Again, here's the bottom. Now that's the side seam, I should say, coming right up. There's the at the armhole, gathered a little bit because it's a curve, of course, across the top, and down the button placket to the bottom. There you go. So again, there's instructions with pictures in your PDF, but I thought the video might be helpful as well. You can see here where this is all stitched down by hand on the outside. So that's how to attach the knitting to your jacket. There's the front of this jacket. Nice hot pink. So I hope these tutorials have been helpful for you, and I hope you enjoy making your Born Again cardigan. So there is the lace and the stitching. I can see I haven't, there's when I joined two pieces of yarn. See, right up to the top corner, along the top, and down. That's the back. And then here is the side panel. Again, here's the bottom. Now that's the side seam, I should say, coming right up. There's the at the armhole, gathered a little bit because it's a curve, of course, across the top and down the button placket to the bottom. There you go. So again, there's instructions with pictures in your PDF, but I thought the video might be helpful as well. You can see here where this is all stitched down by hand on the outside. So that's how to attach the knitting to your jacket. There's the front of this jacket. Nice hot pink. So I hope these tutorials have been helpful for you, and I hope you enjoy making your Born Again cardigan.